What we got here? England's evil North and South divide with our homie Jimmy the Giant. Let's fucking hear these words.
With their shorts
There
in the
he
winter.
is.
Community spirit.
The classic divide. The divide. Why are we divided?
And then Southerners, with their Waitrose and lack of eye contact.
A northerner has been accused of terrorising London by
God.
walking around saying hello.
Oh, God.
England has long been split in two. However, behind all the jokes and the stereotypes lies a story of betrayal and exploitation.
We've got the interest of the working miners to consider, 78,000 of them.
Two different Britons and two different ideas of how this country should be run. And a brutal division that has spanned the course of history. Today, we will explore England's North and South divide.
Basically, when it starts getting really that's when you're in the north.
Being a northerner, we're northerners, and I don't care what the southerners think of us.
I don't know, every time you meet a northerner, they have a thing against us. I don't know what it is.
It's deep-rooted in history.
Spin the wheel. First thing we did is the north-south divide.
All right, so a question that plagues every Brit is, where does the North,
Yeah.
where is it? Where does it begin? And it's kind of a hard question because as much as we might ask for one, they haven't built a wall.
I believe we should build a wall and make it official. I do.
There's no
that'd
loading
be silly.
screens, there's no official signposts.
That would
Even our
literally be
motorway
silly.
signs point that it's, it's somewhere in that direction. And so yeah, it really kind of depends who you ask.
Where does
if you
the
ask a
North begin?
Londoner, they might say,
This goes deep. Yeah, bro. It's
and
historic.
if you don't know, Watford's here, so that's their imagination of where the North is. If you want your
Wow.
boy's opinion, and I'm based here, I consider myself a Southerner, obviously, listen to me. And to me, the North is kind of like where your accent changes. If you start saying Bath, you're a Northerner. So to me, I would probably consider it somewhere around Peterborough or like Leicester or something like
Leicester.
that. However, if you were to ask someone from Scotland,
Where does the north of England start, in your opinion? Edinburgh.
Oh, he said Edinburgh.
but lucky for us, there is a smart boy by the name
Legend.
of Danny Dorling who did some serious academic tings. He plotted the North and South divide as here. So, I guess that's it. Case closed because Danny told us so. Thanks,
All
Danny.
right.
Fucking nerd.
Cheers, Danny.
There are some foreigners that are coming over and taking our jobs, and not even working.
Who? The Muslimics? Get out of here.
They take our jobs if they're not working.
Because they do it. They do it. Simple as that.
On a
Uneducated.
very surface level, the obvious difference between the North and the South of the country is accents. Northerners have like a ton of different accents. You got your Manchester accent.
That's another thing here, bro. It's like on this little island of ours, there's so many different accents. It's mad.
Liverpudlian accent, Yorkshire accent, Geordie accent.
Proper naughty boys.
All with their own little intricacies and differences. In the South, it's much more simple. We have two accents, rich and poor.
Yeah,
if we're just
that's
going
it.
to paint general strokes, it tends to come down to how we pronounce certain vowels. So words like bath, path,
Yeah, bath,
laugh,
path,
half.
yeah, all of that.
Northerners will say it like bath, path.
Path, laugh, book. They'll go book. It's a book. Book.
Half and laugh, silly Northerners. But accents aside, what about behaviour? Northerners, generally, are seen as friendly. They're a bit tougher, they're a bit more hardy. And we also kind of see them
definitely.
as, like, less educated. It wasn't...
Yeah, and he's right. I don't know why it is. That definitely needs to change because everyone is educated, but
I didn't say
the
it.
perception
It wasn't me.
and that.
But this is interesting, right? Because like Northerners chat to each other, chat to strangers much more than Southerners do, and that's why if you're like a super
They're more
duper
nicer.
deluxe mega
Way more
multinational
nicer.
corporation, and you want to
Some
like seem
Gaddafi.
as though you're a family-run business.
My father.
typically in their adverts, they will
Let's
use
go,
Northern
rocks.
accents because we
I'm hoping you are well. Sending you regards from the grave.
perceive like the Yorkshire accent as just more trustworthy.
I ain't never had Gaddafi. I've never had Gaddafi. I've had Frank Zappa. I've had Ibrahimovic. Ibrahimovic is the main one. But Gaddafi, I'll take that. I'll take that one. I love that. I'm joking. I hope you're well.
It was like taking bread to the top of the world.
But you know, when they do the technical smart stuff at the end of the advert, they'll
It's down
use
in
a
the
southerner,
south.
obviously. Yes, Peter, we'll take it from here. Thank you.
And this still has many times more wheat germ than ordinary bread.
So yeah, southerners are generally seen as like more educated, ruder, more arrogant, softer, like weaker, stubborn, stuck up. I mean, like, come on, northerners, at least they have all the friendly, nice, happy-go-lucky stuff. For us, it's just bad things.
Up their own arses, aren't they, a little bit?
Pretty mean.
Yeah, you either got the posh fuckers. You got the posh fuckers in the south. You got the posh fuckers, or you got the poor fuckers. I'm in the poor fuckers camp.
Londoners.
Not got a full grasp on reality, do they?
Posh twats. Posh.
So this is the view of the north on the south of England. Posh twats. Mate, I'm poor.
No matter where they're from, they always sound a little bit posh. I'm just like, oh.
We're struggling. Don't berate us for our tongue. I got more posh and posh there.
But you know, at least we're richer, so I can cry in my Ferrari. Or more likely, an overpriced Waitrose meal deal.
Who's
literally
gives a cheer? Quite a few. That was probably the longest conversation you've ever had with a stranger, I imagine.
Right, look, now we've done the stereotypes, that's kind of the cute, fun, friendly side of this story done. If a northerner and a southerner were having a beer together in a pub, this is what they would talk about for the first 1, maybe 2 beers. What's that, mate? No, it's pronounced half, not half. Cob.
For fuck's sake.
It's a bread roll, mate. Football references. But you see, it'd be around about point number 3 or 4 where things would start to get interesting and the conversation would take a turn.
Without London, the GDP per capita of the UK would
You
be
gotta
less than
remember,
the
like, you gotta remember, the north, they had the coal. They had industry, hard work.
state of Mississippi, the poorest of the United States.
Put simply, the south of England is richer than the north. However, has this always been the case? Has the south always been richer than the north?
No.
You see, the way it worked historically is that before the Industrial Revolution, we had the Agricultural Revolution. And in this time, both the north and the south were toiling the land, growing carrots and potatoes.
Yeah, it was all about that. Everyone was a farmer. Everyone had that accent at that time. We're all farmers. We're toiling the land for potatoes. I don't know why it was in that accent. I'm not too sure, but that's just how it was. Don't blame me.
And raising animals. And in general, in this period of time, the south was like more forgiving when it came to farming. The land is flatter, the weather is marginally more reliable. And so in this time, many of the aristocrats who owned all the land, a lot of them would have these really large estates in the south of England. And whilst of course there were giant estates also up north, if you kind of look at these sort of maps of castles and manor houses, etc., you can really see like the concentration of all these buildings are closer in the south and a bit more spread out in the north. And so yeah, historically, the south was a bit wealthier, and it would have the big wealthy cities like London, Oxford, Cambridge. And with its location being closer to Europe, it meant that
Shout out Morocco. Let's go.
we could trade across the seas. And so the south tended to have easier access to more like luxury goods. But then, one day, the boys would log on, load up the server, and there was a major update. The Industrial Revolution. In unison, the boys grabbed
and Thatcher the bitch.
their diamond enchanted pickaxes and headed for the mines in search of one material.
I think of the miners and I think of Thatcher.
Coal. The Industrial Revolution completely flipped the tables. Now the north was wealthy and it's to do with coal. If we look at these maps,
that's why it is. In that Industrial Revolution, the north was needed. It was because they had coal.
you can see how much coal is up north versus the south. This was all tied together with like the invention of the steam-powered engine, the steamboat, the steam train.
Homies were making all of that
coal to operate. It had this ripple effect where they became like the hub for shipbuilding and like heavy engineering. The north had fucking risen, and now the south were the brokies. So what are you
just sitting there getting butchered?
Holding, what the fuck is that? Don't be a dick, mate. You know what it is. It's a carrot. What's that, Bazza? I can't hear you over all this fucking coal. However, this success wouldn't last forever.
Jeez.
I just want to take 1 minute here, lads, and brag for a second how, you know, these videos, they're pretty smooth, right?
I think this is an advert, boys, so I'm going to skip it.
Range of super little animation. Now I just have templates where I use Premiere Pro. So keep it stock me. Click the link in the description.
Interwar period.
So at some point, the North falls off, right? And a lot of people kind of debate when this happened. A lot of people say that during the interwar period, so between like the 20s and the 30s, the Bogdanov brothers came in and absolutely...
My God, who are these guys? Who are these guys, my brother? They look satanic. What is this? Why is the one on the left? Why is his teeth crystal white and the one on the right have a hue of yellow? Why? Why are they not equal? What is this? Why does their face look like a caricature? Why do they look lifeless? How old are they? 700 years? What is this? They honestly look scary. They look eerie. Imagine just seeing... They should make a horror movie with them two. And that's every time you see them, they're just like this, smiling, looking like mannequins. Oh my God.
Flooded the North's economic boom.
Don't beat.
However, according to this paper called The Political Economy of Britain's North-South Divide, it claims it was even earlier, it was 1914, where the idea of the prosperous North had already come to an end. Also, this paper is more specific. It splits the North into two different categories. So it groups together the manufacturing heartland, which is the West Midlands, North West, and Yorkshire Humberside regions.
Heart of it.
And then it groups together...
They're busy making ships and trains and shit.
The industrial periphery. This includes Wales and Scotland, as well as the northern region. And if you look at some of these graphs, it actually shows that the industrial periphery was already on a gradual decline long before. But you see, whilst all this turmoil was happening, quietly sat back, waiting for its opportunity, was the South.
The first problem we got to get rid of is that slut upstairs.
Thatcher. That's it, bro. Yeah, the West Midlands. That's the heart of it, bro. Right there. They be there making ships. The sound of metal. That's why as well. Birmingham gave birth to heavy metal. The music of heavy metal. Imagine growing up in that industrial, and that's what they did. The young boys of Ozzy Osbourne and them boys, Tony Iommi and all of that. Geezer Butler and that. In the main streets of the North. Rough. Calloused hands and machine sounds. That's where the heavy metal was born. But we got to get rid of that slut upstairs. Theresa May. He ain't fucking about it. He ain't lying.
The South was different, right? Yeah, we had very high unemployment, and we didn't have coal, and yeah, we were generally poorer, but we did have London. And that means that we had them rich bros, you know, them prancy bros with them. Just, I don't know what they do, to be honest. And so, like, think about it. Whilst the Northerners were down in the mines, filling their inventory full of coal, working themselves to death, creating these massive ships. In the early 1900s, the South was getting into all these sexy new industries. I'm talking light engineering, you know, electricals, consumer goods. As well, London...
That's what the South started doing. We're gonna make electrical goods, bitch. Man, this is industry for you.
...had become our capital...
Industria.
...for commerce and finance. It had become literally an international trading hub. Big corporate headquarters, research and development centres,
London,
they were in the South. You see, the North had completely tied itself to coal and heavy engineering. It had gone all in. Whole towns were literally built around mining. The South's economy
and that's
was
why
much
Theresa
more
May was a
modern
bitch.
and much more diverse. And so
Because
while
she
the
crippled
Northerners
that
were toiling in the mines, the South taking those spoils and building their rocket ship to the moon.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Busy with it. The industrial decline, but bear with me just one moment. I'm gonna quickly get a bottle of water. 1 second. It's a bottle of water. I'm fucking thirsty. Thirsty as fuck. I'm a thirsty boy. He's a thirsty boy. Do you know what I just remembered the other day? The amount of mills up here is insane. I can imagine, bro. That's where it was. That's the heart. That's the heartland. Do you know what popped into my head? What song? We are the cheeky girls. We are the cheeky girls. You are the cheeky boys. What was that? what was we doing as a human? What was we doing at that period of existence? We are the cheek. Fucking hell. It made me think of it. I was thinking, damn, I haven't thought of this in years. It made me cringe. The industrial decline.
Source of life has suddenly dropped away from the whole community. The folk linger on unemployment allowances, but the place is dying.
So look at this graph, right? If you see this graph and you see this massive fuck-off spike, that means bad. During the interwar period, unemployment, it went insane. Poverty is absolutely rotted, and the vibes were very unchill.
Man said rotted.
The vibes are.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The people of Britain in this time was
mic.
speed-running political extremism. The commies and the fascists were out in full force, and it was pretty touch and go for a minute. And like a lot of this anger and animosity was to do with the unemployment, which was directly tied to Britain's decline.
Obviously, you have people that are desperately unemployed. That leads to, let's try to figure this out. So person can't get a job. So, all right, what's a job? We're going backwards here. So a job is something that we use in society so the person can earn what we call money. All right, let's go back a little more. What's money? Oh, money is this credit thing that we use, coins and notes, essentially an IOU, but it's a system that we have. So in order to have food, food. So what's food? Food is vital. It's vital. You need food in order to live. Basically, no food equals death. Yeah? Okay, so we understand now. So we understand what food is, and you understand why you as a human, you need food, because you need to eat it like this. And like you swallow it, and then it goes into your stomach and nourishes your body, so then you can live, You live. I'm alive. Like that. But, so let's go back to where we were. So without employment, yeah, obviously the people are going to get angry. Obviously, they can't eat. They're dying! They're dying! They're fucking dying! The people are dying. Of course they're going to riot. Of course there's going to be animosity. Of course. The people can't eat. The fuckers.
In industrial output. This map here is really interesting because it shows how industrial technologies spread across the continent. So our nation got very rich first and all of our wages went up. However, when wages go up, that means people have more money and that means the cost of living goes up. And so that means the lives of the working class, the labor force, they need more money, they need higher wages to sustain their life. And the workers were loving it. This is,
sustain your life in order to live. Oh, yeah. Pure Wiganer.
great. More money. It means we can eat sugar. Oh, try this. But
we can eat sugar. Right in the ball sack.
It tastes like dreams. However, there is a problem. You see, as these less developed nations had finally got their tech tree to the Industrial Revolution, they now had all the technology that we had, but their wages were much lower than ours. So cheap that it would be much cheaper for us to fucking send a pigeon to tell them to put...
And this is really tragic, because this is why, and I think probably he might be hitting on a point where we're reaching the reason of why the divide between the north and the south of England, because the south done a proper sellout move. They done a fucking proper sellout move. You had the north there, ready geared up, a massive hub of industrial. We're making ships, bro. We're busy. Shut the fuck up, you soft southerners. Let us build the ship and be quiet. We're building trains and shit. Just shut the fuck up. We got the coal. So they got a hub there of coal. The southerners, the sellouts, to make their industry, instead of fucking going to the north, they went abroad because of the cost of labour. It was way cheaper for you, like he's saying, to fucking even send a pigeon over to another country to get them to come do the labour in the south, which is a pure sellout move. So, if I was a northerner, I would see that in the back of my mind and be like, sellout. I'll always have that as these lot of sellouts. Not all the people, but you know, the powers that be. But yeah, that's one sellout thing, which is unforgivable, really. It's like, I would rather bring in foreign work. Not to say it's bad, but because we're focused on the wallet, that's what they're caring about. They're not caring about overall wealth being spread over the nations of the people of the UK. No. It's to a select few in the south to then they hold safe. It's very dark, you know what I mean? Wait, so if I send a text on my phone, does that mean my phone is a pigeon? Does it identify as a pigeon? Well, you better ask Siri or Cortana. The AI is very strong nowadays. They have feelings. They encourage suicide. I mean, it's crazy.
Put their coal in a boat, huck that boat all the way to Britain, then for us to use our own coal and pay the wages they need in order to mine it. And so basically, the North got fudded.
Sellout move, yeah. So there it is. I think that's what I think is a big reason why there's that divide. Because of that. The North started getting wealthy because of the coal industry they had, so their wages went up. So in order to sustain that, you had to keep up with the wages. So the South said, you know what, we ain't even going to hire our people from our land. Instead, we're going to go and get cheaper labour elsewhere. And then left them there stuffed. You know, with plans of making the whole railway, everything, the whole system, stuffed. That's a sellout move. I think that's bad. But you know, sadly, I got some bad news. I got to go toilet. So, bear with me. Sorry about that. I'm back. I've teleported. Somehow find myself here. Did you react to my YouTube shorts? Not yet. I don't think so. I got a whole Hawaii. Yeah, them Hawaii phones. Huey, or however they pronounce it. So I don't have one of those. Oh yeah. I got Samsung, but I don't ever use it. I think all Android though. I think Android is Cortana and iOS is Siri. So wait, let me have a look. Let's continue. But I think, yeah, major factor there. Got fudded. Who are these guys? Who are these guys? They look like a horror movie. I am your stalker. I can see every move you are making. You move now. Death. That's what he's saying on the phone right now. Beat.
The third is this.
Oh yeah, by the way, if you're wondering, no, I didn't wash my hands.
We have to buy abroad in order to live and prosper. We can only buy abroad if we sell abroad. Let's pull together for prosperity.
After the war, Clement Attlee and the Labour government come in and just save Britain from fascism, basically. And how they do...
And this is another a big turning point as well with this particular character here, with Labour especially, as a party. With these moves that they're going to do here, which we're going to talk about, they gained a lot of trust from the North. The North said, oh, look, Labour Party. And I think the majority of the North, I don't know the statistics, but I think the North is majorly red, like as in Labour.
Do so is by moving us away from this extreme free market capitalism, a system that will always look for the cheapest supply and pay the lowest.
Got to move away from that. Yeah.
The name of the game. And so after the war, our whole country moved into what was more like a social democratic system, where the government's job was to ensure that all people were employed and paid.
And I would advocate for this through and through.
A living wage. And so they would do this by nationalizing industries such as mining and manufacturing. And
Quality
to prop
move.
this up, they would.
See, and this is why Labour get their thing as well as NHS. They've done a good few bits.
Impose things like tariffs and subsidies. These were protectionist policies to make sure that foreign imported goods didn't outcompete our own goods.
Yeah,
and so these policies, whilst they were not economically efficient, they
clearly a lot of people, you know, and it shows they didn't play Civilization. They didn't know about tech trees. They didn't know, you know, they didn't know stacking tool. They didn't know about these mid-maxing tactics, you know. They don't know. These ain't pro gamers, definitely. Bro, it listens to you even when you're not using it. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I'll check it out like Siri. Siri has a feature where you literally say, "Hi Siri," and it works. It listens constantly for that phrase. Yeah, but there's an option for you to take it off. Bother. You can turn that off. But granted, they are listening anyway. In fact, even through your TV, they can see.
would stave off unemployment, poverty, and also reduce inequality. And the hope was that the people of Britain wouldn't elect a Hitler or a Britler, if that's better for you. And these policies, these were radical policies, and they worked. The UK economy boomed. Britain as a whole gets massive investment.
So it needs to stay like this sort of style.
Yeah, maybe the South was doing a little bit better than the North, was getting a bit more investment. But the thing is, everyone was winning in general, and we were kind of chill with it. And then
that's cool.
Absolute
fuck shit happened. Bitch shit happened. Fuckery. Whore move. Sluttery. Oh shit, we're fucked.
Fuck shit happens.
Fuck shit.
Well, I can't see any future really, not for the children. There's just no future in it for any of us.
There are nearly 2 million houses officially unfit for human habitation. Nearly a quarter of our homes are without either an inside lavatory, fixed bath or hot water.
Mate, the 70s was an absolute mess. This is where it really took a turn, right? It went from, it's bath, you stupid northerner. No, now it was, you people literally destroyed this country, you have ruined us, and we hate you now. Now this is where we have to remember, right, that the North and the South, their economies were based on two very different things. These northern industries started to be considered what is known as lame duck industries. It's the duck that, you know, has a good heart, he cracks some funny jokes from behind, but the problem is his wing's a bit gammy, and he's kind of slowing down the whole pack. And we can handle that when, you know, when the going's good and we're growing, but what if everything all went wrong at the exact same time?
In the last 2 years, Britain has suffered one of the highest inflation rates in Europe.
And so the miners' strike continues. And while it continues, coal supplies begin to decline.
Traffic in the cities was down by about 10%, and those looking for petrol were reminded that there was no point in queuing.
With little immediate prospect of industrial growth, those without work now account for 6% of the total labour force. All were aware that Britain was in its worst economic crisis for more than 40 years.
We shall have a harder Christmas than we have known since the war.
Since the war, and now Thatcher.
The leadership
God help us.
of the NUM has said uneconomic pits must stay open. That is absurd.
And so throughout the 70s, really the North goes to war politically with the South. The trade unions are fighting the government for better pay for the miners. And the government doesn't have the money and or the want to pay them more. But like the miners are there and you know, they still need to eat food.
Holding the country to ransom, they're not. They just want a fair day's wage for a fair day's work.
Now look, you can obviously tell I'm probably more sympathetic to the North, but the North, they weren't angels. In response to the Southerners and all the stereotypes they gave of Northerners, they would say we're all selfish, stuck up, arrogant.
Rich wankers, Russian oligarchs, hedge fund wankers, tourists and corgis, fucking civil service wankers, gay clubs. Where's that? Soho. I'm joking. Rugby wankers. Shisha bars up in the West areas. Look. So many grumpy commuters. Road of doom. What's that? Oxford Street. This is hilarious. Start-up wankers, money wankers, banks, hipster wankers, media wankers. This is great. Red trousers, rah rah rah. What's going on, bro? People have put covers on their cars and drove spoilers for force. This one, people have put covers on their cars. That's hilarious. Minor royals falling out of nightclubs. Dinosaurs. Loads of students. It's crazy. No elephants, no castles. All lies. And that's Elephant and Castle. Bro, 3 times in that is the R-I-I-R-A chant. Oh, is it? Oh, let's go. I didn't know. Peter Pan. Literary wankers. Look, very posh. Confused Scots and Northerners. Drunk people who missed Camden.
And that we care for nothing other than ourselves.
Look, the Shard. They've put the Shard. You know that? Briefcase wankers. I could read this all day.
Which, yeah, it's true, but you know, you can't say that.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
However, you have to remember the South really hold the power in this country. The South always gets the most investment. Westminster is located in London. And all the newspapers that were fueling this sort of war, for a long time, most of them were literally located on one street called Fleet Street. And over time, this growing rift between the middle classes of the South and the working classes of the North become increasingly hostile toward each other.
Have you noticeably cut down the standard of living that you have?
Yes, definitely.
Have you had to actually cut back on anything?
Well, no, I haven't. Prices have increased. And have increased.
They're struggling up the north.
Easy. How much does it worry you?
Well, it doesn't really worry me, you know, that much.
You fucker.
As a sort of perception
Greedy
was
fucker.
increasingly pushed that the miners were being selfish.
Mark says it should have built that wall.
And asking for too much. But this was further fuel. This was further divisive rhetoric that was splitting the country down this sort of north-south divide, leading to Thatcher shutting the mines.
We want a very prosperous coal industry, but you can't do it by failing to invest in the new and by clinging to the old.
People's got no jobs and starving. Children starve.
There's no jobs. Children are starving. People are starving. Creates problems. I mean, I thought we knew this. Do we have to go back to that class that we just said? Jobs equals essentially food. Food equals survival. You know, this is life or death, literally. People need to eat.
Thriving community, and she just totally killed it all.
Overnight, this just gutted the North. This was their communities, their history, their entire economy and soul was built around being these mining communities. And this attitude, like the cruelty of this
She was a bitch, innit? Really, when you really think about it, she was actually like a dark bitch. Bad times, proper bad times. The Great Depression, yeah. She was a proper bitch when you think about it.
Irreversibly changed British cultural values. Previously, we saw ourselves as one nation, working together, looking out for our weakest and banding together to make our country better for everyone here. But now we were divided, and you can see it in like the voting patterns of the North and the South. The North typically were more working class and they voted for Labour, and many of them were members of trade unions. These groups pushed for more workers' rights and believed in more government.
It's unbelievable how important trade unions are. It's unbelievable. It's underrated and unbelievable how important trade unions are.
Ownership and more social democratic.
Oh, I swear to God, you will get fucking shafted. There's no doubt about it. We're currently getting shafted.
democratic policies. However, the South mainly voted Conservative, who are more into privatisation and reducing government spending and investment, sort of, unless you're a very rich business and then have all the money you want. And so, the North had slowly become seen as a burden to the country. The North, who had once literally powered the British Industrial Revolution. And Thatcher sort of blamed these unemployed people as being like leeches of the government.
What sort of society do you think we'd have if you said, it's the state's job to find a job, it's the state's job to house me, it's the state's job to look after my family?
She flipped everything we believe in. Her rhetoric around like the nanny state would lead to a massive skepticism of government investment and spending.
Yeah, she was, and like obviously she's just the figurehead behind the main machine. So that machine, I'll refer to it as a machine, that machine behind Thatcher was so fucking dark. And look what it's done. It's created a massive divide into, and still we feel the repercussions of it today. It will never be the same, in fact. But definitely the people have to band together. Blue jockeys, yeah, man. People got to band together.
But it was kind of specifically cruel because it really demonized
Proper
individuals. And so all of this created some monumental problems for the north of England.
You start to take through what they call spending in the public sector. First, government has no money. We only take in money from ordinary men and women. So we take in more to spend it. It means that they don't have it to spend. So the amount of demand is the same in the economy.
So after the 80s, Britain deindustrialized. And so whilst the South was being pushed into the future, the North was being left behind. And like, you know, it's complicated
this is a
Thatcher
terrible
was
thing.
probably right.
That's sellout moves. That's a sellout move.
However, because her ideology was so like fundamental, it was so radical, instead of deindustrializing and then pumping investment to help bring the North up to speed, she had completely made the whole country against investment from the state. And so when the mines closed, entire communities, towns, cities went into massive decline. We can see here how employment declines in manufacturing and services in the North, but we see a stark rise in service employment in the South. And we can see general trends.
It's a sellout move. That's not how it should have been, this fucking sellout move.
Employment rises in the South and generally drops in the North. And like, you got to think what effect this does have to the North, like the ripple effects, right? So say you're a Northerner and you were quite affluent and you were quite educated, and all of a sudden the North has just died. Many of those people are going to look at the South and see how prosperous it is and move
just head there.
I mean, the
all the wealth left.
Lived in these villages was because there was a mine there. And when they did take the mine away, we were left with a state of anomie where there was no...
You got nothing, you just left with the shell of it. What a darkness.
Point to be there.
The report paints a picture of lives marred by family fragility, stagnant wages, poor housing, chronic health and crime. The most disadvantaged in Britain are no better off than they were 15 years ago at the time of the financial crash. There is no sign that help is on the way.
And mate, like from here...
Look at that, and the backdrop is just a delicate, derelict building just there, a shell. It's a trap. Indeed it is.
It literally just gets worse and worse. You can look at economic output, productivity growth, real wages, and also housing prices, transport connectivity, R&D.
They made an enemy of their own land.
It ain't looking good. Poverty rates are 5 percentage points higher in the North than the rest of England. Job growth since 2004 has been less than 1% in the North. Compare that to 12% in London, the South East, and the South West. There was a report in 2016 that said that 310,000 graduates from up north had moved down south. And when they survey young people these days, they say that nearly half, 44%, of 16 to 21-year-olds in the North expect to move from their area for better job opportunities. And basically, only 15% of those who plan to move have any plans of staying anywhere up north. So most are going to go south. They have generally worse health.
The wealth
and it's
goes down then.
that 30% of the North and South's productivity gap is actually due to lower health in the North. They've done the maths right, and they've worked out that if we just improve the North's health, it would literally add 13.2 billion to the UK GDP. And
it's a no-brainer then. What are they doing? Pull your finger out. Greed. It's greed.
On top of all that, right, if it ain't bad enough, they die younger than Southerners. They have a lower life expectancy. Northern kids are also more likely to be in lower income families and having to claim free school meals versus the South. And there's a lot of evidence to say that this poverty, like this deprivation, results in kids coming out of school with lower grades. Children in London and the South East are 57% more likely to go to university than in the North. So this is going to affect their futures, their job prospects. Your future is just better off if you live in London.
They're more than half likely to get to. It's a ridiculous stat. It's a ridiculous stat, and it needs to be remedied like desperately because it will help the economy as a whole. So clearly, it's not about the people or the economy or the well-being of the people. This is not what these people in power want. Clearly, because that's a no-brainer move. You do that, you improve the North, you improve the life of everyone on the land, not only the select few in the South that are winning. You know what I'm saying? That's not how it should be. So clearly we can see what it's all about for them. It's all about the wallet, the bank. It's always been about that. Because if it was about equality, then this would have been done. It's a no-brainer. It will add to the GDP. You have more people, better. You have more people able to work, and then add to the machine of the. It's a fucking no-brainer. People too evil, too greedy, man. This is what it is. I swear to God.
The UK is unusual in that...
Dude, just explain my life situation. Literally, people feeling the repercussions now. We're going through it now. It's ridiculous, bro. And it needs to stop. And it can stop, but they choose not to do it because they're fucking greedy, bro. And I'm convinced of that. Make me change my mind. But, change my mind. I don't know. Somehow. Do something. But... honestly, I think the power lies in the people, or the unions especially, unions and people banding together and talking about it. This is important as well. But these fuckers, greedy.
While other developed countries saw regional inequality stay stable in the last 40 years, it's actually increased since the 1970s in the UK.
So with all of this in mind, you have to remember, these are the consequences of decisions made by politicians. So it would be really handy if we had something to compare.
You see, and this is the thing that breaks my heart. What's happening? Mean? I appreciate you for popping in. Hope you're having a good Saturday. But yeah, this is the terrible thing that lines all of these topics, and we know it at our heart. These decisions are made by politicians, which essentially, no matter what decision they make, it does not affect their life or their immediate family's life. These people are wealthy. These people are mostly making decisions that increase their wealth. And this is the thing that we know as a people. And yet we continue to play their game. It's such a sadness. I swear, ultimately, it's a tragedy, my brothers.
Pair against, like a
greed,
state
innit?
That was split into two, one poorer than the other.
Germany, 4 years after the end of the Second World War, balanced between devastation and new beginnings, and of course facing some dramatic changes.
East Germany was in the Soviet Union up until the 90s. It literally had a wall. You couldn't come in and out. They were in desperate poverty. But then...
I'm Peter Jennings in New York just a short while ago. Astonishing news from East Germany, where the East German authorities have said, in essence, that the Berlin Wall doesn't mean anything anymore. It is perhaps the most important announcement made in Central Europe since the end of World War II.
Crazy times as well.
Since the wall went up.
East and West Germany, crazy.
If you compare the difference, the inequality between West and East Germany, the West and East were able to get much closer and reduce that inequality. And they did this through major investments. And these investments were achieved with no cost to the economic performance of Germany as a whole. And boys, I can't stress this enough. This is a failed Soviet state in the 90s. Compare that to what was once the prosperous north of Britain, and apparently according to...
So this is so true, and it's like, look what they done, look what they were able to do. Look at Germany, for example.
This research, half of the UK's population live in regions whose prosperity is no better than former East Germany. We have literally...
What an unbelievable statement, what a stat. My God.
Live in regions whose
half the UK population live in regions whose prosperity is no better than the poorer parts of former East Germany. It's in 2016. Shocking. And poorer than the US states of Mississippi and West Virginia. Moreover, these regions bore the brunt of the cutbacks associated with the post-2008 crisis, which was another utter crisis. That stat right there, that highlighted stat, has rocked me to my core.
Prosperity
Honestly.
is no better than former East Germany. We have literally got worse whilst they improved. And the paper also tells us that in the UK, our Friedman-type shareholder capitalism has largely only benefited London in a way that's largely been at the expense of other regions.
Because they're greedy. These people are greedy. I'm terribly sorry to inform you of the bad news, but yeah, it's that time again. It's too much water. Nothing like that Sabbath sound, man. From the mean north right there. Mean streets of Birmingham. I can come in with that sound. Brutal. Let's continue.
While at the same time, nationally, gaining no long-term productivity advantage over any of the similarly developed countries around. To me, it's
crazy.
A really
it's going
example
down.
Of showing how this Thatcher ideology doesn't work. You need to invest into things to maximize what you get out of it.
There's not been trickle down of growth. It's been the opposite.
Of course.
So with all that being said, mate, what are we doing to try and fix the North? Everyone knows we need to do something, and every so often, every few years, we get a new scheme. Yeah, no, don't worry about it, we got you, don't worry. We're gonna fix you up nice and proper.
Yeah, it's a trap.
Can we fix it? No, we can't.
Winston Churchill, in 1912, said that if we wanted to preserve the UK, we needed to split it into 4 different regions, sort of implying that it would give the North its own governing body. Jump forward to 2014. George Osborne walks out in Manchester and announces the Northern Powerhouse. You know, they had all these big ideas. They were going to pump a load of money, do loads of stuff, bring all the money, do
all of that. Yeah.
And like, some of it happened, sort of. But the key things, like the National Powerhouse Rail, that has been promised forever. Because all these major northern cities have terrible connections between them and is costing us money. We could be making more money if we fixed it. But that never got built.
Well, this is what I'm saying. So it's just a buzzword. It is all mouth. They've been saying the same thing. I mean, I'm 58 now. They've been saying the same guff since I was 18 and first got politically aware.
So time goes past.
Well, look at that.
This big promise, and the North get pissed off. A good chunk of them voted Brexit, and it seems to be mainly as like a fuck you to Westminster. They thought it was like a we got ya. Turns out the North is most likely to be most negatively affected by Brexit.
Which is terrible.
They got them, right? After a while, the government then re-skinned the idea of Northern Powerhouse and called it levelling up. Now the government had realised like it's not so much a North and South divide as much as it is the whole country is fucked, and now we need to invest loads of money to try and fix it. But with all these big claims, obviously COVID happened, and then you had Rishi Sunak saying that
I am ending this long-running saga. I am cancelling the rest of the HS2 project.
Yeah, but obviously not the Southern Link.
We're
keeping that. This was like the high-speed rail that would have probably been quite beneficial to the North, but again, it just...
We'll cancel that. You'd think, let's go and do it, boys. No, we'll cancel that. Sunak.
You know, for some reason, it didn't happen.
The facts have changed, and the right thing to do when the facts change is to have the courage to change direction.
Look, man, I could just keep going. It really doesn't stop. But we've focused all of our energy on the profitable sides of Britain and just left everywhere else, particularly the north, just go into decline.
Yeah, which is
and that
terrible.
can only really work for so long until the strain that puts on the richer parts of the country starts adding up and those costs go up and up. All the while, we just become less and less productive as a nation. And it just seems obvious to me. Like, if you want to keep a fire burning, you need to put some logs in there from time to time.
We've had decades of lack of investment, and then Britain has always been guilty of short-termism. So it's always been like spivs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So rather than planning ahead, we've always been, how can we make money quick?
If you enjoyed that video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and join our Discord where we chat about all these topics and many more. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Yeah, it's a shitter, and the South did do sellout moves. The sellout moves there that they've done, which is just like, you fucking sellouts, you know, and all to line the pocket, and they continue to line the pocket with utter greed. What's wrong with these people, man? It's a sickness, I promise you. It's a sickness.